right, who would you like to speak to first?
Let's talk with Lily. Lily's been on the line for the longest, and she helped us with the audio testing.
Yeah.
So, Lily, how can we help you today?
Hi, I'm so glad to be on again because we need to talk.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Absolutely, we do. Love that tagline.
So, thank you. I got it from some people that are, I quite like them. You can check them out. But the last time I called, we talked a bit about math, and there was this angle that V brought up, the qualia angle, if you recall.
Ah.
We're not quite getting there today, but I think this will prepare us for a future call if we want to explore that, because I need to do a bit more research into that too. I'm finding, as I look into it, that I don't know a lot more than I know, which is fun, but I want to have at least something prepared.
You can only know as much as you know at any given time, so...
No, that's quite true. That's quite true.
I love it. What can we talk about today?
So I'm going to start with, the screener's notes hopefully say, I am not a theist, but this is an argument for God from John Lennox. There are a couple angles that you can take it. There's the standard one, and then there's one that goes a bit deeper into some of the philosophy of math side that I want to address more. It's the idea, he was talking about the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics, and he says that it's only unreasonable if you assume a naturalist or the atheist philosophy, right? Because if you assume a theist philosophy, you can say, but God set it up such that mathematics would explain reality, that we can do physics with mathematics. But if you assume a naturalist worldview, then it would be unreasonable and it would just have to be a happy little coincidence. But, I mean, the structure there, if A, then B, if not A, then not B, therefore A. What you're saying is that if God was real, it would explain this. That doesn't, you're trying to solve a mystery with another mystery there, right?
Right, exactly.
So the form is invalid. But there's also this, you can take it from the perspective of it being unreasonably effective. What does that mean? Well, when that's brought up, it commonly is used to say, like, we're able to do math to very precisely describe reality, and it isn't obvious why math should work, why it should be applicable to such a high degree everywhere.
No, actually, no.
No, I would agree with you, probably.
No, for sure. We're not saying necessarily that this is your take. We understand you're bringing up an argument that you have heard. My concern there is whenever they're trying to make a definitive statement based on a qualitative assessment, like unreasonable, right? Like, okay, well, it might be unreasonable to you, but how do we determine if something is can something be objectively unreasonable, or is that an inherently subjective statement? And in that case, you cannot make deductive arguments about it.
No, that's true. And there are a couple ways that unless Eric, do you have...
Inductive for sure, but
I definitely. But then we're just pointing at the problem of induction, and I don't know if I'm convinced by that one necessarily. I believe that's a strong argument, but I think we can do better. And it's just linguistic. It is just entirely linguistic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But I'll be happy to. I think if I jump into the linguistic, we'll wind up going in a totally different direction. So y'all go ahead, and I'll save mine so that we don't go off in way different directions.
Okay. Yeah. So my personal view on the unreasonable effectiveness, there are two main ways I attack it. The quicker way is that, if we talk about math, we're just describing the structure of something, whether it's counting, that's set theory and cardinalities of discrete sets, whether it's, so any way that and then that goes into this view of which gets a bit into brain stuff, which is why I'm probably going to try and contact Shannon at some point but it plays into an intuition we have about the world, right? We see the world and we can only see the world for our perception of it, right? You cannot look beyond your own looking at things. Like if we were to try and see reality rather than through our senses objectively, whatever the fuck that would mean, that might shift the way we play into it. So mathematics, whether invented or discovered, it is either a human invention or a human discovery. That's sort of plagued with our own perceptions, our own biases towards thinking with these certain structures. And then our perception of reality is too plagued by our own perceptions, our own ways of thinking. So you're asking, basically, how does this tool of the mind go with this other function of the mind?
Right. Essentially, it's as pure agnosticism as you can get before you jump into like solipsism, where you're like, I can't know anything beyond the fact that I perceive things in a certain way. Therefore, and we cannot know things, or nothing else exists except for my perception. But yeah, as soon as you get down to that granular level, everything kind of falls apart, including math.
Sure.
Yeah. I honestly, I think that entire qualia piece is creating a subcategory that should not exist. I really strongly think that it is a miscategorization.
Eric hates qualia, by the way.
I hate qualia.
So if you like qualia,
I do too.
Yeah, if you believe in qualia, please, we do not want to straw man you. We would like to talk to you. We're doing our best.
Is qualia the correct phrasing of that, though?
I do not accept qualia as
I feel like it's like
useful argument.
Evolution or something. It's like, well, some people accept it and don't. But...
Well, so I mean, qualia being something that's separate from, an experience being something separate from our physical experience of it. Us going through a thing, right? So let's say you go down a slide. Okay, well, you can explain V going down the slide, but can you really embody? Can you ever understand or experience V's subjective experience of going down the slide? As if that is a separate thing that itself requires
I disagree
a category.
Entirely. I think it does deserve its own category.
No, why?
Because it's how we talk about subjective experience. Subjective experience is still a thing, even if it's subjective.
No, I entirely agree, but I'm saying that your subjective experience does not map differently to the description that you give of it.
I think that's...
So you slide down the slide, right? And you tell me about your subjective experience of it.
Right.
Is your sliding down the slide different in the way you understand it than the way you would describe it?
Yes.
In a way that deserves its own category of reality?
Yes.
I fundamentally disagree with you, Vila Bianca. I fundamentally disagree with you, because you can't, just because I did not experience it the way you experienced it, does not mean that it is something other than, I mean, if that's the case, then yeah, it goes right back to what you said, right? You're trying to describe a memory then makes everything subjective, and you toss everything out, or you leave everything in. And I think if that's the case, then you're tossing everything out. So obviously, I think you need to drop the category. You need to drop the qualia category.
I disagree, but we can have a podcast episode about this, or some behind-the-scenes debate between the two of us. Would you like to see that? Would you like to see us go at each other for the existence
Personally,
of qualia?
yes. I would so much love to have, episodes of just you two picking a topic on which you fundamentally disagree, and then just...
There are actually quite a couple of those.
Yeah, I mean, people in the chat are saying, "What the hell are you talking about?" So let me go back just a little bit. So qualia is often used as an argument for the existence of God or the existence of the supernatural, because it is something that they say cannot exist as in a purely physical world. So I used the example of V sliding down the slide. Those are things that exist in this physical world. And V has a memory of that, which exists encoded in V's brain. But somehow the activity of going down the slide, for some reason, creates a new category that is outside of this material plane called qualia.
I think you're using it weirdly, though, because you're like, oh, outside the material plane. Things exist outside of the material plane.
No, they don't. They may exist as concepts, but then if people don't know what you mean by exist, which most people don't, so you're muddying the waters for everyone. So you're saying it
doesn't exist because some people might misunderstand the concept of existence?
No, I'm saying there are better ways to describe it, and if you're going to use the word existence, then I think you have a responsibility to make sure that other people understand it. Otherwise, use word language that people are better going to be able to understand the concept of.
I 100% agree with you, but that does not equate to a thing existing or not. That equates to how well you describe the thing. Okay,
so really quick, so people understand it, because I was trying to explain it. Chalmers, I believe, is a philosopher who said, can we ever describe what it's like to be a bat? right? We can describe how it lives, what its activities are, what its diet is. We can explain different things about its biology, but you could never explain the subjective experience of the bat in a way that someone could explain it the same way, in the same way that a bat experiences it, and points to that as a new category called qualia, and uses qualia as something to point to and say that exists in the same way physical things exist, to point toward the existence of a soul, or to a supernatural realm, to a place where those souls go, because the soul is the thing experiencing the qualia.
Right, exactly. And my concern there is that they're using this concept of something existing, a subjective experience, as proof for God, in the same way that they use the beginning of the universe, or the quote unquote the fine-tuning argument as existence of God. We can agree on some of the concepts. Possibly the universe began to exist. A lot of people who are scientists who know more than me think that. But we don't have to say that doesn't exist because we don't like the conclusion they come to.
I didn't say that. Math doesn't exist in the same way.
Right.
And that goes right back to, now we're getting into my explanation of it.
Okay.
So Lily.
Sorry, Lily. We went way far afield there.
No worries. Lily.
I like that direction. It clarified a few things for me.
Oh, good. Just remember, we're both two assholes on the internet, and so clarifying it, we may have just confused it more. So take that with a grain of salt. But using linguistic tools, right? So when you're talking about math, just like V said, you're talking about something that is a quality of things, right? Eric is holding one mug right now. The number one is being used to describe a quality of this mug, and that is that there is one of them in my hand, right? And because of that, the number one exists as a concept, not as a thing that is existent in the world that you can experience or touch, or that has, some kind of manifestation that interacts with the world around us, right? It is a qualitative thing. And so, V, just so that I can clarify, I'm saying that math like that exists as a concept. Would you say that math exists as a concept or as something else?
I agree that it exists as a concept.
Okay, so if someone were to say math exists and you can't explain that, I would look at that and go, hey, I think that you're using math in a different way. You're not saying it exists as a concept. You're saying it exists as some outside platonic thing that interacts with the world.
Right.
And in that sense, I would say no. Using that definition of it exists, it does not exist. V, if you used that definition of exist, would you say it exists or doesn't exist?
Wait, that was one too many exists.
Sure. If I were to say V, I'm defining exists as something that exists, that
platonic existence versus conceptual existence.
Yeah. If I say exist, I'm only talking about not just platonic, but just actually tangible things in this world.
Okay.
Does math exist using that definition?
Sure.
I think.
No. Hold on. V, where's the math? Where can I find the math? Take me to the math.
Math is the same place. This is at the same place that the color red is. Okay.
Again, you're talking about descriptions of constructs in our minds. I didn't say that. I said an existent physical thing.
Like the number one.
So the difference between Eric making a cup of coffee, Eric exists, versus the number one making a cup of coffee, the number one exists. Can the number one make a cup of coffee?
The number one has no agency or identity, no.
Can the number one touch things, move things, or interact with things?
No.
Okay. Can the number one exist outside of it describing something?
No.
Okay, so what makes your definition of existing with the number one? What makes that different from nothing at all?
The fact that we are aware of it.
Okay, then it's a concept.
And it exists as a concept.
And I removed concept. Right? I removed concept.
So
I said as an extant thing.
Existent.
Existent. I keep mixing those up.
It's
As an existent
for
thing.
the record, I see a lot of atheists do this. If it is extant, that means that it was almost destroyed and some survived, like extant texts from the Library of Alexandria or something like that. If you're just talking about it exists, it's existent, not extant. We need to probably wrap this up.
Okay, fine.
But cliffhanger,
Lily,
and shameless plug here. Who do you agree with? Leave a super chat with who you agree with.
Ooh, we'll read it at the end of the show.
Yeah.
And why don't we also put up a poll, actually, when we release this clip so that people can interact with the poll?
Absolutely. Lily, I'm so sorry. I feel like I don't feel like we absolutely did stomp all over this call with something you didn't even call in to talk about.
No, sorry about that.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't originally call it.
Hello? For some reason, you muted. Let's unmute you.
Oh.
Hello.
Oh.
Hey, you're muted again.
That's very strange.
Lily,
Okay.
there's something going on. We will try and fix it.
Oh no. Oh no.
Go ahead.
Oh dear.
You were saying?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Don't worry about it. Things happen. So much for being the episode without tech issues, by the way, but whatever. Y'all stole that, and like that did happen, and I didn't call to talk about any of that stuff, but now I'm realizing that maybe I did. And because I do see math as very much experiential.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that, cliffhanger in the next episode.
Yeah.
I love it. Lily, I am loving your calls so much. This is so my jams. This is so what I would want to do any day of the week. Thank you.
Like, if you're ever in like the Phoenix or Tucson area when I'm in college, like, make sure to talk about it. I'll take you to EG's and buy you some ranch bread, and we can talk philosophy. And Eric, to you, happy early birthday.
Well,
Yay.
thank you. So we're going to be going to visit my family in September.
In Arizona.
In just outside of Phoenix. And I think we should do a meet and greet. What do you think?
I think that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lily, how about September?
September, I'll fit you in somewhere, I promise.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks for calling in, Lily.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. All right. We'll try not to do that anymore unless you guys really love this, and then we'll do it more. But that was fun.
It really was. I loved it.